Hi, I'm Lucy from Sew Essential, and today we're taking a closer look at the Baby Lock Acclaim Overlocker, just one of a wide range of overlockers and cover stitch machines available to buy on our site sewessential.co.uk. At Sew Essential, we pride ourselves on using our expert sewing knowledge to help you find the perfect machine for you, and that's why we've made this video, but we're also always available to help by phone or email too. The Baby Lock Acclaim is the next model up from the Enlighten Overlocker, and it has all the same great features, but it's got some really super extras too. So you benefit from Revolutionaire needle threading, which means you can thread the needles at the touch of a button as well as the loopers. I know it sounds too good to be true, but it's not, and I'll show you in the video. You've also got brighter lighting to really illuminate that work area and make everything crystal clear for you. There's more workspace for you, so it's easier to work with bigger projects. And then the foot lift is on the front of the machine rather than behind the machine and behind the needle bar. Then you get all the same great features as the Enlighten. So you get extra lift under the foot, which means it's easier to work with thicker fabrics. You get auto thread tension, so you never have to worry about faffing around and fiddling with thread tensions. You also have the ability to thread in any order. So if a thread breaks or you want to change one colour, you just change that one thread. You don't have to rethread the whole machine and start again. You also get the unique wave stitch, which is only available on Baby Lock machines and only on selected models. Plus, you get to work with 4 different threads, up to 4 threads, to create a wide range of stitches, including all the ones you'd expect: the 4-thread overlock, the 3-thread overlock, the 3-thread rolled hem, flat lock stitches, and so many more. I'll pop a link in the corner of the screen so you can take a closer look on our website and purchase it there. Later in the video, we'll have a look at what's in the box, but now let's take a closer look at what this brilliant machine can do for you. So no doubt one of the things that's attracted you to a Baby Lock machine is how incredibly easy they are to thread. So I'm going to set the Acclaim up now for a 4-thread overlocking stitch, and I'm going to start by using the telescopic thread guide here, but then I'll extend that out of shot, but I'll just show you here how that works. You just take your thread behind the guide and bring it down through these guides with the brushes on. And those brushes are really good as well because they will just remove any lint or dust that might be on your thread as you start sewing. But I'm going to extend that out of shot now, and then I'll continue with the other 3 reels of thread and just bring those through from back to front. And then once we've done that, we'll be able to click the thread into the automatic tension thread guides on the back of the machine. So not only is this machine super easy to thread, which saves loads of time and means you can spend more time sewing instead of lots of time frustrated trying to thread your overlocker. The fact that it's got the automatic thread tension also gives you so much more time sewing. If you've ever worked with a manual overlocker, you've got dials on it and you have to adjust the tensions of the needle threads and the looper threads to make sure you're happy with the stitch. With the Baby Locks, you click the thread into the tension guides or the thread guides at the back of the machine there, and you'll hear it click. And then when you select the correct stitch, it will automatically set the tension and you'll get a beautiful stitch, and it just saves so much frustration and time setting up your machine so you can enjoy more time sewing. And while we're up here, I just want to point out this magnetic pin holder as well, which is a lovely feature on this machine. So you can just pop your pins on there as you sew and you know that they're not going to go anywhere because that's magnetic. Now we're going to look at the really fun part of threading this machine. So, well, there's lots of fun parts threading this machine, but the first bit we're going to start with is threading the loopers. So I just need to move this dial from serging to threading and then turn the hand wheel towards me. And if you watch here, when I turn the hand wheel, some metal tubes will come across and connect, and you'll hear it. And then when we put the thread in the threading ports here and press the button, it will automatically feed the threads through those tubes and they will come out through the relevant loopers. So if you've ever threaded a manual machine, you will understand how magical this is, because you may have sat there for hours with tweezers fiddling around trying to get the thread to go through the loopers, but with this machine you can do it just at the touch of a button. So I'm just going to bring the lower looper thread behind that metal thread guide. I've got my foot down and I'm just going to place the thread in the threading port. The other thing to mention with this machine as well is you can actually thread both loopers at the same time if you want to. That's how fancy it is. But we'll take the orange thread now and put that in the upper looper port, and then if we press this button here, you will see those threads fly out of the loopers, the upper and lower loopers. So I'm just going to press that button now. And you can see there the lower and the upper looper are both threaded. It is just so simple and so easy to do. You can just thread one at a time as well, but just with this Revolutionaire button, it means you can thread two at the same time. So again, massively time saving, and just means you've got more time to sew. And then when we want to start sewing, we just change the dial back up to serging mode, and that will release those tubes there and allow the machine to work its magic. So now it's time to show you the other really exciting threading feature of this machine, which is the Revolutionaire threading needles. So the needles also are threaded at the touch of a button. It sounds too good to be true, but it's not. It really does work, and I'll show you how. I should just mention here as well that one of the other great features of the Baby Lock Acclaim is that you can thread this machine in any order. So if one of your threads breaks for any reason, or you want to change colour, instead of having to unthread the whole machine and start again, you literally just replace the one that you want to change, which isn't the case on most other overlockers. So I'm going to bring the green thread behind that thread guide, through the metal one on the front of the machine, under the plastic guide here, up and over, and then behind the thread guide on the front of the needle bar. And then you use this lever here to bring the needle threader down into position, and that's lovely and sturdy. I think that's the thing about these machines, the quality is exceptional, and you can just tell that from the way everything feels as you're using it. And then I just poke the thread, position the thread over the eye of the needle, press this button, and then I pull the needle threader up, and you can see the needle is threaded. It's just amazing. And then if you want even more help threading the machine, threading the needles, there's also a threading guide that you clip onto the needle bar, like so. So it's all set up in exactly the same way as for the left needle. But there's a little guide here that you can poke the thread into, and that will get the thread in front of the eye of the needle for you. So if you've got visual problems with your eyesight, it's just helpful for that. And then you press the button, and in the same way that needle has now been threaded. And then you just remove that guide. Make sure your threads are behind the thread guide on the front of the needle bar, and you are ready to start sewing that 4-thread overlock. All we need to do is just use the dial to switch back to serging mode, which will remove those metal tubes, retract those metal tubes, and just enable the machine to start sewing. And then we just need to close the front covers. Now I'm going to show you how easy it is to select the relevant settings for whichever stitch you want to sew. But before we get into that, I just want to mention this lever here. This is the foot lift lever. So if I lift that, the foot raises, and if I lower it, it comes back down again. Now on the lower end models of Baby Lock machines, they're all available on our site, so do check out the links below. But on the lower end models, that foot lift lever will be on the back of the needle bar, so you have to reach round to the back of the machine. But on the Acclaim, it's at the front, making it super easy to do that. And you actually get some extra lift under this foot on the Baby Lock Acclaim as well. You get an extra lift so that it's easier to work with thicker fabrics. The other thing I wanted to point out as well are these lovely bright LED lights here that really illuminate that work area and make it so clear for you to work in. So when it comes to selecting stitches, the manual and the quick reference guide give you really handy tables that tell you exactly how to set the dials, and they will tell you which stitch to select on the stitch selector. So you select from A, B, C or D. I'm going to select A because we're going to be sewing a 4-thread overlocking stitch first. You also have the differential feed to consider, so this is how the fabric gets fed through the machine. Now if you're working with a particularly stretchy jersey or something that's cut on the bias and you find that it's becoming a bit wavy as it goes through the machine, you can knock the differential feed up and that will compress the fabric and prevent it from becoming wavy. You can also exaggerate that effect by knocking it right up to sew a gathering stitch, which works best on woven fabrics. And there's lots of tutorials on our channel about how to do all of these things, so do check them out. If you want to deliberately stretch the fabric, you knock the differential feed down, and that will mean that the fabric will be stretched as you sew it, so you can then deliberately create a wavy edge if you want to sew something like a lettuce edge. But I'm going to put it back on neutral for our 4-thread overlock. And then the other thing I need to do is just select the relevant stitch width using this dial. So for a 4-thread overlock, I've selected 6.5, and then this is the stitch length dial, and I've selected a stitch length of 3 there. And then finally, you've got your dial to engage or disengage the blade. So if I turn it so that the lock word is showing, that means that blade will be disengaged and it won't trim the fabric as I sew. But if I want it to trim the fabric as I sew, which I do with the 4-thread overlock, I'm just going to make sure that it is engaged, and that will trim that edge off as I sew. The other thing I should mention, the Acclaim has the unique wave stitch, which is exclusive to Baby Lock machines and only available on certain models of Baby Lock machine as well. So you've got the option here to sew a normal overlock stitch or all of the standard stitches, but if you want to sew that unique wave stitch, you just push that dial up and that's how that's selected. But I'm going to put it back to a standard overlock because we're going to sew that 4-thread overlocking stitch now. Before I show you the 4-thread overlocking stitch, I just want to give you a little tip about these markings here. These correspond to different seam allowances, and if you can't remember which one corresponds to which seam allowance, a handy tip is to use these markings on the front of the foot, which corresponds to the left and the right needle, and just grab a tape measure. And if you're using the left needle, measure from the left needle and you'll see that the R corresponds to a 5/8 seam if you're sewing a stitch with the left needle. And then if you're sewing a stitch just with the right needle, just use the right needle marking. But now I'm going to start by sewing with this piece of stretchy cotton jersey. And then I'm going to go straight into sewing a piece of medium weight denim so I can showcase that incredible auto thread tension. I really can go from sewing a piece of cotton jersey to mid-weight denim without changing any settings on the machine at all and still get beautiful stitch results. So we'll start off with the cotton jersey. And you can see there, beautifully neat stitches. I'll show you the wrong side as well, absolutely gorgeous. And then we'll sew this mid-weight denim as well. So let's just go straight in with that without changing any settings at all. And here we have it, that lovely neat stitch again on the denim. Just show you both sides of that there as well. And I'll do it on the other side just so that you can see more clearly, because obviously the other side of the fabric's a bit darker. So there you have it, those beautifully neat overlocking stitches on the denim and on the jersey without changing any settings at all. So wonderfully neat, and that is just the absolute beauty of these Baby Lock machines. They are wonderful, and this is the Acclaim that I'm showing you today. And then we're going to sew a 3-thread rolled hem next, which is a lovely decorative finish, often used on fine fabrics like satins and chiffons, and it just wraps the edge of the fabric in the thread. To do that, I'm going to select D on the stitch selector. I'm going to select a stitch width of 3, and then on the stitch length dial I'm going to go from the standard half of the dial into the rolled hem half of the dial. You'll see that marked on there, and I'm going to go for a 0.75 on that, a really short stitch length, so that it fills in really nicely with that thread. And then all I need to do is remove the left needle, because a 3-thread rolled hem is sewn with one of the needle threads and the 2 loopers. So now we'll take a look at the 3-thread rolled hem edge, which is a lovely decorative finish. And I sometimes use this if I'm making ruffles for a dress or a blouse, and it suggests a narrow hem, and I think, oh, this fabric's quite delicate, pressing it under and pressing it under again might be a bit heavy. This is a lovely alternative way to finish the edge of the fabric. It's quicker and easier as well. And it's also often used on things like chiffon or satin scarves. It's just a really nice way to finish those raw edges of the fabric. So let's take a look. You can see there, it's just covered the edge of the fabric in thread. You can also use a thicker speciality thread like a woolly nylon, which we stock on our site. I'll pop links below where you find the link for the machine. You can use that in one of the loopers, and that will fill the stitches in even more because it's a thicker thread, and that's quite nice for some of these fancy stitches. But you can see even with a standard thread, it's just covered that edge of the fabric really nicely and neatly, and that's the wrong side there. And you can even use this to create belt loops and things like that if you want to as well. You can just run some stitches off and use those for belt loops. And I couldn't show you the incredible Baby Lock Acclaim machine without showing you the unique revolutionary wave stitch, which is exclusive to Baby Lock machines and only available on certain models. They're all on our site though, so do check out the links and visit our site below. But to sew the wave stitch, we're just going to select wave with this dial. We're going to select B on the stitch selector. And then stitch width wise, it suggests between a 3 and a 5 in the manual. So I'll go for a 3 initially, but you know, there are brackets in terms of width and length suggested in the manual. So you can play around with them and decide what you like and what your preferences are. And then the length, it says to go between a 0.75 and a 2.5, but that will be in the standard side of the dial. So I'm just going to go somewhere around there. When we're using the wave stitch, we also need to just thread the machine slightly differently. So we're working with the right needle. We've got the thread on the right needle spool. However, rather than going through the right needle threading path, we're going to go through the left needle threading path. So I'm just going to click that in there, and then I will thread the right needle in the normal way. Then for the upper looper, we normally would go through this threading path, but we're going to go through the right needle threading path. So we're going to click that in there, and then we'll thread that looper in the usual way. And then your lower looper is just threaded in the normal way. So essentially all we're doing is just using different thread paths for the right needle thread and the upper looper thread than we usually would. We're leaving this one blank, and then our lower looper is threaded through this path in the usual way. And now let's take a look at the gorgeous unique wave stitch, and I have just put some woolly nylon thread in the lower looper just to fill the stitches in more, just to show you the real beauty of this gorgeous decorative stitch. And there you have it, that beautiful wave stitch. What a gorgeous feature to be able to add to your crafty projects, your home dec projects. You might even want to use it on some of your dressmaking. You can see that pale blue thread is the woolly nylon, which is a thicker thread and just really fills in those stitches. And it's also great for sportswear and things that need a bit of extra stretch as well, and I've popped links below for that for you. But yeah, there's the wave stitch in all its glory. So if you're impressed with all the fantastic features I've shown you on this machine, just click the link to view it on our website and you can purchase it there. In the box you'll find everything you would expect: a detailed instruction manual, the quick reference guide, a foot control, spare needles, screwdrivers, Allen keys, spool caps, a spare blade, some spare screws. You'll also find that threading guide that I showed you. Everything you need is in the box. But then if you want to take your sewing even further, another brilliant thing about Baby Lock machines is the really wide range of feet and accessories available to buy separately for the machine too. So you might want to buy a piping foot, a beading foot, an elastic foot, and there's also a really great value set of feet you can buy and a compendium which shows you all the different stitches and makes suggestions of what types of projects you might want to use them on. They're all available to purchase on our site. Just click the link and look for the Baby Lock feet and accessories, and if you need any help choosing, don't hesitate to ask. That's what we're here for. So I've given you a really good overview of the Baby Lock Acclaim, but if you've got any other questions, don't hesitate to ask. That's what we're here for, and we want to give you full confidence when making your purchase. All of our machines come with a full manufacturer's warranty, which is 2 years on this machine, and it can be extended by a further 2 years to 4 years in total if you complete a short questionnaire within 3 months of purchasing it. In the unlikely event that you have a problem, get in contact with us straight away. Most of the time we're able to solve any issues over the phone, but if that's not the case, we'll collect the machine and do everything for you. We offer the best prices, but if you do see this machine cheaper anywhere else, don't hesitate to get in contact and we'll be happy to help. Your machine will be delivered by courier the next working day with a dedicated time slot, so you know exactly when that happy post is going to arrive. I hope you've enjoyed the video today. I hope you're feeling inspired and excited about your new machine, and thanks for watching.